All right, text Zoe. Let's get down to business. So I spent a little bit of time getting started just to look through your website, get an idea of what's going on, what kind of content you already have, your take and how you're positioning your product. And then I also spent a little bit of time looking at some competitors or comparable products and websites. So my first take is let's see, I know what it is very quickly. It's not as straightforward or like 4 seconds, just because it's not clear how you're capturing these moments and how you're storing them. So cherish every laugh, step, and doodle. Okay, that's cool. Worried about missing family moments, and okay, I got it. And then you're reading some long text, maybe. What I would like to see here, so this is going to be a recommendation across the site. So you have this cool little three-dimensional illustration artwork here, and then you have similar art elsewhere, and these are really cool. Like, this is some top-notch 3D art from from all the stuff that I've ever seen. But I would really recommend incorporating real people, real human photography, as well as showing the your application interface in some way. So since you're dealing with mobile devices, I want to see some mobile devices here and how the interface with Zoe works. So one thing I wasn't certain of is if there's any kind of app that goes with this, or if it's all going to be web-based, and the only interaction that a user has with Zoe is through text messages. I could see how that's really a great idea in that you don't have to deal with native apps, um, creating them, developing, designing, developing, and publishing them and keeping them updated. But I could also see how, maybe a native app makes sense because then, as they all say, and every client I ever worked with wanted back in the app boom is we want to be on their device. We want to be on their home screen. So I could see it going both ways. I do like the idea of texting. It seems easy and quick, and you don't have to the user doesn't have to learn a whole new interface or application. So that's what I would like to see, just to get some better it's going to give more context and a better human nature to the product and your brand, because it is cool to have imagery, but here's what we're talking about is we're talking about people. We're talking about real people, real occasions and moments in their lives, and we're talking about sharing text and photography. So that's what you really want to reflect with your Zoe brand. Okay, so I I screenshotted your site and I brought it over here into Figma so we can go through it, and I'm going to make some markup and draw some lines and scribble scratches and arrows and stuff on it. I'm going to send you this page as well, a link to this so you can access the site. It will have all of the information that we discuss as well as a link to the video. And what I have here is one is my kind of like my go-to landing page layout, your site as is, and then those comparisons that I pulled. Okay, so you are in the pre-launch phase, and you need to make that clear right now. And the reason I say you need to make that clear is because when I saw Get Started for Free, my take is that it's ready to go. So while I get I get what you're going for here. Get started for free, get started for free, log in, you hit it. Oh, now I know that there's a wait list and you want my name and my email to sign up for the wait list. I would rather know that immediately before I even hit get started for free. Um, and that kind of goes to the way you design and you write copy and stuff. Anytime that a user is going to click a link, you want it to that you they should know what they're going to see based on that image or that text or on that button or link. And so get started for free makes me think I'm actually starting up right now. So I would rather make this a wait list, and there's a number of ways you could do that. So you could have like get early access. That could be the button text that would work better already. Like I don't think you don't need this right here. You don't need the credit card comment right here. You could, if you have a button, so you can make it get early access, and then you put a little second line down here, like now accepting beta testers or access for early members, open soon, open soon. You could probably come up with a few other ideas of what you could write or other options for your button text. Another option is instead of having a button, since you are already um, since you're in the pre-launch phase and you're gathering emails, is you put a open text field right there. So you put, you're capturing their email, um, and so you could say, you could still say get early access, or you could say get notified at launch, something like that, and then I'd put in their email address and then send that. And I like this method at this stage of the project because your the email field is open and visible immediately without having to click anything um, or open a modal. If you do go the modal route, then I would make all these buttons say get early access and make sure all your CTA buttons say the same thing and do the same action. So get started. What get started? So we'll come back to pricing in a moment when we get down there. I'm gonna say go ahead and get rid of login because you're not there yet, and so it's not needed. Pricing is good. How it works is good. Testimonials is good, but you're going to need a lot more testimonials from what I read. And then see a sample. So maybe call this like sample, just sample, or examples or case study. Maybe not case study, that sounds too formal. But you're going to want to have multiple samples that people can look at beyond just one. Okay, so let's look at my standard layout for uh, a landing page. So there's in design and marketing and whatnot, we sometimes talk about above the fold and below the fold. And now that harkens from a day and age of newspapers. So above the fold is what you saw when the newspapers were all stacked on top of each other, and below the fold is what you saw whenever you unfolded it. And so the most important stuff was above the fold, what you immediately saw. And so the fold is basically where your browser or your screen size cuts off. So it's probably going to be around this spot right here. Let's see. Yeah, maybe even a little bit farther. So let's just make this 800. Let's make it 900. So your fold is probably going to be somewhere in the 700 to 900 something range. So your setup for what you have right now, it's a good setup. Um, what you may see, let's go back to my browser and let's see what I see. Okay, so this is what I see. So I'm only seeing the hero section, which is our first section. And if I scroll, then I start seeing other stuff. So one thing you want to do, um, I, I'll talk about the fold and the hero section, but don't get caught up in all the other conversations and arguments people have about do people scroll or they don't scroll or um, we need to put all the information immediately at the top so that they see it because they're not going to scroll. The best thing you can do is create an experience that engages people immediately and uh, entices them to continue learning about your product and your information. So there's ways to do that without having to do a giant button with the arrow down, like or putting the actual text scroll. Like that's the worst. You could do there's a lot of ways you could do it. You could do crossovers, images and text and content that crosses over this fold area. So if this was tightened up a bit, and then this was pulled up a bit where I could see new content starting right around here, well, I already know, I obviously know that there's more going on down the page, and so I'm going to go see that content. Another option is you have your hero image where it's running off the bottom of the page. And so that's just a natural flow that the user is going to follow. So that's above the fold, and below the fold contains all these other items. So the above the fold, we call it the hero section because it's the first thing you see. It's the hero, and it's positioning and message the message of your product immediately. It has a headline, subtext, visual, a social proof, if available, and a CTA. So you have the basics for that. We're going to come back and talk about that in detail in a moment. Below the fold, so these are sections that I recommend, but it doesn't, based on your scenario and situation, you may not use all of them. You may not have all of these right now, or you do them in a different order, or you can address them in different ways. But this is the kind of content that will speak to, touch on all the questions that people want to know. So the first two are related, and they're social proof. If you are a B2B business, which you're not, and you have reputable logos from clients that are recognizable, then that's something that you want to put. The alternative is if you don't have that, but if you have press coverage, like your product has been noted on blogs or whatnot, then you can use those logos for press. But if you don't have either, then focus mostly on testimonials. So you always want to have some testimonials right at the top to get that social proof in early. Sometimes that includes having something in the hero section, whether it's a star rating and like 5-star rating or 4.8 star rating, both something like that, or having a short testimonial can be good. But fairly soon after the hero, I recommend having a testimonial section with at least 3 testimonials side by side. And we'll talk about this a little bit more here in depth, because hopefully as your product is growing and interest grows and people are using it, you're going to continually gather testimonials, and you need to make that a priority as you go. So hopefully you have enough testimonials where you can have at least 3 here. And then down here at the more social proof, you can have 7 to 12 more testimonials at that spot. And then if you have even more beyond that, once you start getting to 20 plus, then you can have your own dedicated testimonials page where all testimonials can be shown, or a subset. But definitely work on one, gathering more testimonials and displaying them all in a row together. So like 1, 2, 3 versus, let's see, you have, here they are. So you have some testimonials here. One, I didn't even really notice this block. I kind of just scrolled past it and didn't understand what it actually was. But also, when you hide your content, people aren't going to see it. So typically, I recommend not using a carousel or a slider or a rotator unless you have a really good reason and the information is extra and not absolutely necessary. So I would change this. I would put 3 testimonials up here. If you have more, then you start laying them out in blocks here. So that's my recommendation. Now, what do you do when you're at pre-launch? Sorry, my throat is kind of sore today. And you don't have any users yet, or you have very few, or you haven't gotten any testimonials yet. Well, that's when you do the super secret way to get comments from people, a testimonial stand-in. So part of the reason you need testimonials is because it proves that people are using your app, people like it, and they think you should use it too, whoever the site visitor is. What you want on your testimonials are the quote from them, you want their name, you want their role. Well, yours is going to be a little bit different. Their role and where they work, and then an avatar image, a photo of them. So yours will probably be a little bit different in that it's probably not going to have to be a role or a business, but you could still say what their role in the family is. So it could be mom, dad, aunt, grandma, uncle. And so that's one way you could handle it. So what do you do if you're not at that point? You still want this kind of information with the human face, because that's what people love to see, and a quote and their name and maybe mom or dad. Sorry. But when you don't have testimonials yet, you get hype quotes from people. So they could be, I am super excited to use Zoe. This is something that I've been wanting to set up or use with my family for a long time. Things along those lines. So they're not using it yet, but it's something they're interested in and they want to use. So that's one way you can get stand-in testimonials at the beginning. Now, next section, product demo. There's 2 types of product demos. One is a video. So if you can make a video, either just like a standard screen recording, basically what I'm doing right here with your head and you're talking through the app or something like that and the dashboard and whatnot, or like a promo video. Make something like that shows off your product really well and keep it less than 50 seconds. So less than 50 seconds. The alternative, if the product has this ability, is you put a live demo with interactivity. So for instance, yours might be a mobile device, and here's Zoe, and then here's your messenger, and Zoe says, so Zoe says something to you, and then you, as the actual user, it's a live demo, and they can put something in and start typing. Or maybe you give them some preset options. So they could pick one, something with text, two, upload these photos, and three, uh, something else. And so if they pick any of these, then bloop, they're going to see that pop in right here and give you that that demo idea. So a product demo, and then next is features and objections and benefits. So you already have that started. You have a how it works section as well. I didn't put that in here. I don't know why. I should have how it works. I always like to see a how it works with a 1, 2, 3 step for the product. Like keep the steps short. You don't need 10 steps. You want it to be simple and digestible for the person. So something along these lines makes perfect sense for you. For features and objections, this section, I'm just going to put a feature and objections. You have the right idea. So this is like the classic uh, Z pattern for features, and you're speaking into each one of these different features one at a time. Now, like I said, what I would prefer to see is real imagery, so real people and the actual device and UI for Zoe. And you can do that and still make it really look cool and cute. Like it could be, you may have um, a device here, but you have like word bubbles popping off of it, or like some images, and so you have a lot of options for what you can do without it being boring. I kind of call these like collage or montage graphics, so you could do something like that. The next thing my comment on these feature sections is that there's way too much text. Like I didn't even want to read this, but I did. It's just way too much. The format that works really well is you have overline text, which is like a 1 word or 2 word small text. You have a headline, which is 1 to at most 2 lines of text, and then um, you have text that goes with that, 2 lines, 3 at the most, like that. And then if you still have things to say or have specific call out points that would be beneficial, make a bullet list and list them. And so it's either a bullet list or you could do a check mark list. And that makes it really easy and scannable for people to look at and capture the points quickly without being intimidated by a block of text. Um, You could, since you're pre-launch right now, you could also add a CTA item right here, like to get them to join the wait list. That would be something you could do. So I would follow something of this type for each of these sections. There's a lot of other ways that you can do layouts for features and benefits as well. I think for something when it comes to this one, like secure, we're talking about security, safety, privacy. How are you taking in this data? How are you processing it? How are you storing it? Does your user know that it's not going to be leaked or it's not going to be sold? Um, so you need to speak into that with some specifics, because at one point you talk about AI. There's a lot of privacy concerns around using AI, especially because you have to send the data off to a third-party service for it to be processed, and then you get something back. You're talking about images, you're talking about children. There's a lot of privacy and security concerns here. So any kind of badges or trust badges that you can show here and how you can explain like this is, stored on this amazing hosting service with SOC 2 implementations and I don't know, HIPAA compliant, blah, blah, blah. That's probably not something for this. It's more medical. But you need to nail in that security aspect. Okay, so this is coming soon. I'm just going to pass over for that with that one at the moment. Smart and flexible. So I redlined this one because one, you're talking about AI inside here, and I think that's good. You want to do that, but I think it belongs somewhere else. You're talking about that it's smart and it's editable and you can customize stuff or change things later on. I think you can hit on that point without talking about your AI, Zoe, and it making mistakes that you're going to need to edit. So I would say don't say that at all, but just make it clear that this is smart, flexible, customizable, and put some bullet points here to kind of call that kind of stuff out, and that's all you got to do. So like I said, I want to see more images, and this is exactly what I want, exactly like this, but even bigger. And I want to see, this is probably your personal stuff that you wrote up. This side, I probably want to see this in a mobile device that would help convey that idea. You can decide what type of mobile device you want to show, whether it's like a realistic device or if it's just like a flat image or a flat shaped device. But I want to see this stuff bigger and easily readable and that I can see the images better. One thing I did notice here is let's see, we are on our way. Okay. I felt, this might be something you have to work on with the GPT. This was too long of a response from the GPT. Just talking about how the Hall of Science is such fun and educational place and then blah, blah, blah. It should be short as a response. And then, so then you have like the comparison here, and then this is what you get. This, I didn't even see this sample report button, so that needs to be much more obvious. And I'm not sure how these are being delivered, if it's email or what. So so just nitpicking here on the graphics, this looks odd, and there's no margin or padding on this stuff, on these pages. So I want to see something that is better designed for the end product that has some spacing between the side of the page and the text, and has some images here. So do something about that. Even if the actual product isn't that sophisticated yet, just make this graphic look like that. And then make it very clear that you can see a sample report. Sample. Okay. Everyday Made Magical. Used by parents who love keeping track of their kids' fun moments and milestones. See, this kind of is lost as well. It needs to be paired with something else, or somewhere else to make it recognizable. So I think it's because it's one single line. It kind of just looks like a divider. So maybe you make it like in this area to split up these, and you break it to two lines, and you put some sort of little flourish icon or something like that right here instead of putting it here. So here's your testimonial or your testimonials, And what did I not cover yet? More social proof use cases. This one's pretty straightforward, and you kind of covered in a number of places, but sometimes having just like a clear use cases uh, section is highly beneficial, where you can list either the roles of people would uh, that would use this product, or like the ways that they would use it. So the roles would be like mom, dad, grandpa, grandma, aunt, uncle, cousins, friends, sisters, whatever, families. And then the the ways that they could use it uh, for birthdays, for small memories, for going to the zoo, for sharing images with grandma and grandpa, So things that when your site visitors are reading through and scanning your site, you really want them to see themselves in the product and using the product. And so they're going to be scrolling through and they might see, oh, there's dad, I'm dad. And then it's, oh, capturing that funny moment when your son told a joke or something like that. And or capturing, Christmas with the grandparents. And so you can create those little connections that speak directly to the user. So don't go crazy and have like 30 different types of people roles that could use it and then 50 types of actions that they could do. But think of a few and put those out just in a really easy to read format. All right, FAQs. You need FAQs. And that could just be a simple list that looks like this. You've seen it on every other website with a little plus right here and it has a question, and you click those and they expand. But there's always FAQs that need to be addressed that you can't or you don't have a spot to address elsewhere on the page. So you put FAQs in. It could be things from like um, it could go further into the security aspect. So you could get into the nitty gritty of that and how content and images and text is stored. It could get into cancellations or getting support call, if the user needs help, or whatever else you need to put there. I recommend looking at other SaaS products just to see what they say in their FAQs, and they'll give you some ideas of what you need to say. So pricing, a second CTO, so a CTA, I mean. So that's this. What I like to see for a second CTA is a reiteration of what you're saying in here, up here, in a slightly different way and more condensed. Um, but I like it just like this. Like this is perfect. So I like it when there's like clear white empty space coming through, and then boom, here's your second CTA, and it's boxed in and colorful. It makes it stand out more. And then I think what you also need is a founder's note. So a founder's note tells the visitors that this is a real product created by a real person, you, and you stand behind it, and you're not just like a fly-by-night scammer who's going to take their money and disappear or sell their data or do something nefarious. And so the way you can do that is I recommend putting a photo of you, say, hello, my name is, write a couple of paragraphs about yourself and why you started this product, and put a little wiggly signature. Not your real signature, just use something that stands in for your online signature. And then another good option is to put some links to your real life socials. So it could be to Twitter, it could be to LinkedIn, it could be to GitHub, whatever. Not too many, but things that are relevant to your users. So for you here, putting GitHub probably doesn't makes sense. But if your product is something that is mostly for developers as the target audience, well, putting GitHub is going to be good because developers understand it and it gives you some cred. So I'd recommend adding that. All right, let's talk about pricing really quick. One, the first thing is it seems like these are flip-flopped when I was looking at it because I think they are. So right now it's white, but it's that direction by yearly, and it's giving me the monthly cost. And if I flip it the other way to monthly, now it's giving me the yearly cost. So I think it's just a text label issue. Um, then I think you need to, one, when it comes to like seats or contributors or user numbers, put that at the top. That's kind of the easiest to digest and understand differentiator. Second, I think you need to differentiate these tiers more than just by users. So your lowest tier, it might be like um, basic reporting or something like that, basic reports or updates, whatever. This makes sense. This is a benefit, which is good to have. It's good to have benefits here, but since you only have one, you either need to add more benefits or more features that they can expect from these different tiers. Here's the second one, so that bumps up. I scratched this out so to make it called like basic reports or something. So then this would be like advanced reporting or I don't know, something else. And then same with this one. But make it clear that what the tier benefits are. I think I don't know that I would call this I don't know what I would call this. Essential's fine. I was trying to think if there was something else, but I don't have anything off the top of my head. But I think family and tribe are great. That makes a lot of sense. I don't know specifically about pricing. I would look at competitors to see if you can get an idea of pricing. These numbers seem, this number seems high to me for the basic tier. If this was, oh, $60 a year though. So yeah, that's the hard part whenever we're talking about month versus year. All right, so monthly, $6 a month, $9 a month, $19 a month. Okay. Let me snapshot that really quick. Honestly, so one thing that I've seen products that have low monthly cost do is you can't pay monthly. You have to pay in larger chunks. And I think that's probably something you should do, especially if you're going to try to sell it for $6 a month or $9 a month. I think you just go up. For a whole year of usage, one, I think these numbers are low. So I'm thinking this is probably like, oh, I just thought of something. One, make this 25, not 50. Make this 100. That works. And then 300 or even unlimited if you can come up with a way that that makes sense. Um, but I could see, I mean, you're gonna have a lot of users to make any money at $6 a month. If this was a really good service, I think you could do $14.99 a month and then $29.99 a month and then 49 $49.99 a month. So, you know, ponder on that and see how that feels and sounds. So $14 times 12 is 100 something minus 20% is probably like 130 a year. So maybe like 120 a year. Okay, I don't know about with the discounts, and then figure out what those other pricings are. So just consider that. Um, I like with this. So the product's not out yet, but I think it's always a good idea to give them an idea of what the pricing will be, um, so that they're not blindsided or their expectations aren't shattered. Um, I don't know that don't put this here actually, because we're going from pricing directly to a CTA. So just get rid of this one here. You don't need that until you start having actual buttons to to buy a membership. All right, I covered a bunch of stuff. I hope that helps. I didn't even talk about comparisons. Let's look at that for just a minute. So I like there's different. So you're right now where you are. You're in kind of like the fun, whimsical brand design. Then if we look at these, we have like somewhere right in the middle of fun but less whimsical and like serious. And then these are more like almost like academic, but they look good. These look very good. I like all three of these a lot. I do like how they handle a lot of stuff. Look, here's their testimonials. So I think you can learn a lot by looking at these pages and how they set up call outs or feature sections. So actually, look, this is their demo. These are their features. Here's a CTA. This is a CTA. This is their social proof. Here's their 1, 2, 3, how it works. They say that too. And then here you can see their heading, text, button, etc. So I think you can probably get some good ideas from these three. One thing I do see, the overly colorful aspect kind of turns me off a bit. Like it's too playful, too kiddish. I would like to see it to be cleaner overall, very clean like this, with like a couple of fun colors, but not mixing them up too much. So I would rather see all of this text be the same color, and then you use one color to highlight something. And so in this case, it might be cherish, or if you rewrite it, it could be something else. Um, that's just going to simplify it. Once you start popping all these colors next to each other, it's a lot to deal with. And but I think something along the lines of what you're working on, the style that you currently have, and this one, Momatu, is right for you. Um, I think if you changed this hero section background to white, do what I said about the text and the images, and then you make these next sections start being banded colors like zebra striping, it's going to look a lot cleaner and more professional, like off the bat. Another thing I would probably recommend is a different typeface. So I get the playful aspect of this, but like I said, I think it needs to grow up just a little bit, and but not be this or or serif. It doesn't need to be serif because that it feels like ancestry, something old and antique. Uh, but somewhere between what you have and more of a friendly sans serif font. So look at that and see what you can come up with. Now, I hope this helps in some ways. That's what I want to do for you is basically, call out the aspects where I know you can fix things to accomplish your call to action goals, but also just give you ideas to ponder on and grow on. I know for me, uh, even it's easier for me to critique someone else's work and see like what they're missing, whatnot, than it is for me to see the problems with my own work. And so sometimes I have to get somebody else to look at mine because I've just been so close to it, like I can't get an idea of what's right, what's not, what's missing, and what needs to go away. So I hope this gives you some ideas and you continue your product. I would recommend one, okay, this isn't a recommendation. I would encourage you to get this out there as fast as possible. Start putting it out there, sharing it with people, getting people to sign up. Um, that's the possibly the hardest part of indie hacking and creating a product. So I look forward to watching your continued progress with this. I'll keep an eye out on it. Feel free to ping me anytime. And with that, I'm going to sign off.